I signed this piece of paper saying there is essentially a 50-50 chance you'll survive this surgery. There are so many people who plaster on a fake smile and shake hands.
God is not against your goals. I almost disagree with you a little bit.
If you live righteously and if you keep following me, you will lead my people. It's really fucking hard. It takes a lot of effort. It sucks for a very long time. It's very lonely. But there's a rainbow at the end, so it's okay. Got a bunch of 16-year-olds who think they're going to make $5,000 next week because they start copywriting.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Welcome to the Ripple podcast. We don't actually know what to call it yet. If you have some fantastic ideas, Luke or someone else in the comments, make sure to let us know what to call it, as long as it's not something really, really weird. To get started,
make it weird.
Make it weird? We could do. I mean, that would result in more views, wouldn't it? Just a brief overview of what we do. I'm Jack Watson with Ripple Media. We're responsible for people's online presence and making businesses famous. This is Luke Sutherland, an absolute killer editor and a valued team member as well. You run your own business here in Brisbane too, don't you?
Yeah, man. So I do the exact same thing as Jack. I yap about marketing online. I shoot content for businesses, and Jack's been honestly helping me out along the way for a while. So I'm very, very grateful to him as well.
There you go, man. And how did you get started getting into business? I remember meeting you last year inside like a TRW chat, asking questions about business and all that sort of thing. What really kicked it off for you?
Well, honestly, I started learning about business throughout high school, and it was honestly just really intriguing for me to learn. And I just found it super addictive, just learning about the flexibility and everything that comes with it. And I love to just be the captain of my own ship throughout my life, you know. So
So we called it True North Media?
Damn. No, but I wish I could say that, hey. But yeah, man, I kind of just wanted to have my own free will, my own structure to kind of just do whatever I want. But at the same time, you know, I want to do something that at least makes an impact in someone's life. You know, there's a lot of different, I guess, business models that you could go into. You got your drop shipping and stuff, but I feel like I'm not benefiting the world selling toys online or anything like that. So
that's true.
I started learning about marketing, and luckily all the people around me were already a step ahead of me in terms of videography and content. And
it's crazy how it all just comes together, eh? That's how you know you're on the right path.
Spot. Oh, yeah. Definitely, man, definitely.
It's been such a weird journey for myself as well. Like, I always wanted to run a business. I always wanted to make my money up. I just never knew how to begin with. You know, I was in an academic school. I was always trying to find a way to cheat on my assignments, you know, and I never really clicked at a place like that.
Yeah.
But what it comes down to is, you know, even after that, I joined a trade school. I thought, oh, well, fuck this. I want to learn a trade or something like that, you know, do something important. And I did, you know, weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, months of work experience at so many different industries, working as an electrician, a mechanic, all sorts of stuff. And I realized that there are people in their like 70s and 80s who hate their job and have wasted their entire lives. I thought, that's not what I want to be at all. You know, so after that, you know, it was a bit of a weird sort of thing. I got this close to fatal brain surgery after having the worst headache you'd have in your entire life for about a week straight. I lost maybe 7 kilos that week. They flew me down to the Princess Alexandria Hospital here in Brisbane, and I signed a piece of paper, very blurry-eyed, I signed this piece of paper saying there is essentially a 50-50 chance you'll survive this surgery.
Right.
But that was actually better odds than what I had at the time, because if I didn't fly out that day, the cyst in my head would have burst and I wouldn't be here anymore.
Shit.
So I woke up about 3 days later, which said enough. You know, I believe, and what I've learned from that experience as a business owner or in life in general, is that any moment spent idle is completely wasted.
Yeah.
So I learned from that moment, any moment or any day that you happen to wake up again, you're there for a reason, obviously.
That's a phenomenal point, man. I remember you told me that story for the first time, and it's still pretty impactful for the 11th or 12th time that you told it. So that's really sick, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know, we started off doing like door knocking. You know, we met someone at the local radio and started with a wedding musician and all that sort of thing, just over delivering value
Yeah.
is what we tried initially. That's what I told you originally as you started prospecting as well. It's all about providing value.
Yeah.
And all that
Definitely,
sort of thing. And then from there, you know, you're building relationships. One thing I learned in business is, you know, I dropped out of high school. I started selling spoon rings at the market. Like in year 11, I dropped out.
Yeah.
I was just selling rings that I bent up from mum's kitchen. Yeah, I was selling spoon rings at the market because I just wanted money. I thought, yeah, well, I don't want to do school. I don't want to work for someone else. I had so many bad experiences working for other people and bosses who were complete dickheads. I thought, stuff that I'm going to do it the right way and prove them wrong.
Yeah.
I'm quite defiant like that.
Yeah.
And it was all about money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like at that time I would just talk to people trying to sell, you know, weird pieces of jewelry for someone who only has like $5 to spend on coffee at a market.
Yeah.
I was actually not making any money. In fact, I was losing money. I was working as a videographer for it was a funeral live streamer at the time. We were live streaming funerals on the side while I was doing the markets on the weekend.
Far out.
And it was pretty shit too. You know, you'd have like a 13-hour shift. You drive like 2 hours out to a cemetery, set up all the cameras. It could take like an hour or two.
Yeah.
Everyone sits down. They're in an absolutely terrible mood. And you just got to record this entire funeral of people crying in front of a microphone and then pack up and drive home. And that was it. And I did that for maybe a couple months. And that's where I learned all my camera skills, how to operate a manual camera and to manually expose things, all that sort of thing. And I hated that too. I actually didn't mind the funerals. I learned to love them, which is a bit of a weird thing to say, but the boss just had no idea what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very pessimistic person. I don't vibe with that at all.
Okay.
So once I started closing more clients and all that sort of thing and starting making money, he saw me as a competitor and essentially ghosted me after that. I'm sure you've had so many experiences of, you know, relationships that you've built or friends that you happen to know.
Yeah.
That the second you start making moves in your business, you're closing clients, you're making a real effort, they kind of just fall off and no longer associate with you.
Yeah, I've had examples like that. I don't want to, not going to name drop obviously, but at the same time, mate, I've been so lucky to be surrounded with amazing people who have honestly just been on my side, supporting me the whole way through.
Yeah.
You know, like even like my first client, you know, the food truck owner down in Tassie, he was a legend because he was just so passionate about getting behind my journey and getting behind my business and helping me to grow. Like we did, I couldn't even come down and film for him or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I was doing work for him for free just because I wanted that experience and I could get a testimonial out of him. And then in the end of it, when he gave me the testimony, it was like minutes long. Him just ranting on about making stuff up. I won't lie about how amazing I was. I was not good at all back then. But yeah, I was just always been so blessed, I guess, to have people that have been supporting me throughout it all.
Yeah.
I honestly thought it would be the opposite. But no, I'm super.
Have you tried other things before content marketing?
No, it was honestly my first attempt.
You're just that good.
Just that good. No, well, I was freaking hard getting started. Really, really hard. I think it's definitely something that many people don't talk about because I know like online business is a massive trend. You know, especially.
Oh, it's huge.
You've got all your online gurus out there.
You've got a bunch of 16-year-olds who think they're going to make $5,000 next week because they start copywriting.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Back in like high school, you know, you'd watch all these videos and all these online gurus would tell you, oh, it's, you know, how easy it is to make money, but man, it's the opposite, and you learn that the hard way.
That's right.
You know, but
That's right. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to running business, if any of you watching out there have been seeing the content go around of this is how I made 10 grand this week or something like that, you know, people using those dumb hooks, it fucking pisses me off now.
Yeah.
It's really fucking hard. It takes a lot of effort. It sucks for a very long time. It's very lonely, but there's a rainbow at the end, so it's okay.
There is a rainbow at the end, very much so. I wish I could scream that to the world about anyone who wants to go into business. They need to learn how hard it actually is to get started. But I mean, hey, everything in life is hard.
Yeah, that's
started
right.
hard, but it's a very much a snowball
Yeah.
effect, I think the term is called, where it starts off really small, but once you get the ball rolling, it picks up and picks up and picks
That's
up,
right.
which is where I guess the
Yeah.
fun begins. But then even there's
And then the brakes don't work and you have to set up systems.
Yeah, that-
Everything collapses and you die.
yeah,
That's where I'm at right now.
yeah.
Luke's handling close to maybe at least 30% of the videos that we're producing for our clients. You know, there are some really massive clients out there who pay us, you know, thousands and thousands of dollars a month. It's all thanks to the service delivery that we can provide to them and the financial relationship that we have with them. I've experienced a bunch of clients now who want something as perfect as they can possibly get. You know, it's like they tell you, oh, can you just make this transition 1 second longer? I don't like the colors here. They're looking for something objectively 100% perfect, which we cannot deliver for them.
Any content's always better than no content, man. And it's like, I mean, if you look at all your social media influencers out there who get millions of views, I guarantee you they don't know a thing about cameras and lighting and cinematography. I feel like what really makes a good video is what you're talking about and how you're talking about it in a way that's easy to be consumed, and people can really get behind it and enjoy it. So I think, like, I know I've experienced the same thing when everyone's really nitpicky about, oh, can we just change this so it fits the vibe? And
Like,
sure, you know,
is that going to make 1,000 views difference?
hell no. I mean, there are many times, you know, obviously the client's paying me and I want to make them happy.
Of course.
But there are so many times where they want to do things, and I mean, I got to say yes, but it's going to cause a negative effect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Do you have to say yes?
I love sharing my own opinion, but sometimes they're like, oh yeah, no, we'll stick with my idea.
Yeah.
You're paying me. So.
Sure. I mean, yeah, that's a similar mindset to what I had in the beginning, but I found with these clients as well, they're not quite scalable. You know, when you start building a team and all that sort of thing, it's really hard to maintain that, you know, when unrealistic expectations are set by someone who, you know, they don't want you to come out for shoots, but they want loads of content to be produced. Or, you know, they don't want to use a lot of AI, but they don't want to do it themselves either. Some people just seem to be almost hypocritical in the way of what they're actually looking for. Although in saying that, I believe we're responsible for setting those expectations.
Yeah.
What is your approach to sales in today's market? I remember you really struggled in the beginning with, you know, thinking that sales is smashing someone over the head with a hammer until they curl up into a ball saying, no, just take my money. Although there's a different way to go about it, isn't there?
Yeah, I think the big part of sales is just getting the other person to understand their need for the actual product or service that you're offering and why they actually need it, which is, and you know, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
Like, I've sat down with people and I've told them straight to their face, like, I don't think it makes sense for us to work together, considering your goals and what your business offers, which is why I'm always asking questions. And it's something that I learned from you, constantly asking questions about what do they think this will do for their business. You know, if we're putting out content multiple times a week and reaching thousands of people, like, what do you think that would do for your business? You know, or talking about their goals and really getting them to understand what it is exactly they're looking for, and getting them to understand what's currently holding them back in business and what do they actually need to get over those hurdles.
Yeah.
You know, and then upon that, most of the time, then they'd sit down and be like, yeah, then it does make sense for us to work together, you know.
You find a lot of people have like a really high sales guard when it comes to you selling your service.
Yeah.
What are the ways you go about kind of lowering that guard and getting on their level?
It's one thing I struggled with the most when I first started, because obviously I get a lot of my clients from cold call.
Yeah.
I pick up the phone, I talk to business owners, or at least try to get through the gatekeeper, the receptionist.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is, obviously, if you're someone on the phone trying to sell someone something, you come up as a scammer. It's just an annoying salesperson.
Yeah.
People just want to hang up or tell you to kill yourself, you know. So for me, is if I can just get them to lower their guard by, one, trying to sound a lot more human, like I'm a genuine person who wants to actually help them.
Yeah.
You know, not just someone who wants to, you know, take money out of their pocket, but someone who actually wants to get behind their business and their goals. And the most important thing for me was just offering free value, you know?
Yeah.
Like you see so many videos out there on how to cold call, and there's all these different techniques,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, sure, but all I started doing, again, I learned it from you, it's just simply picking up the phone and offering a free video for them.
Yeah.
One, it's proof of concept, and then at the same time, have a conversation and using the words, see if it makes sense for us to work together.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That common phrase works like a magic spell sometimes.
It's crazy because people now see you as someone who
It's
isn't
genuine.
Yeah, forcing them into a contract
Yeah.
or anything, but someone who's just genuine and who also doesn't have it completely figured out on their end.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So
There you go. Wow.
yeah, free value and positioning the frame as someone who's not trying to force something down
Yeah.
their throat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you go into it with the frame saying, I don't actually need your business right now, but I'd like to help you.
Yeah.
You know, we got enough happening on our end in order to support ourselves, but I'd just like to provide the value. On the topic of providing value, I've gone through a transitional phase in my business where I no longer work for money
Yeah.
at all. We don't work for money at all. The only currency that we work for is trust, pretty much, because with trust comes the sub-currency of money. What I like to call it as a sub-currency. Because the thing that comes first is trust, you know. It's like, let's say you have a one-time client, you screw them over, you get the money but no trust.
Yeah.
And then nothing comes after that. You're left there, and then you screw your reputation as well.
It's relationship.
Yeah, exactly. Relationship. The way I see it is you provide value, followed by value as a relationship. With that relationship comes trust, and then money comes right at the end. You know, there's a 4-stage process to what it looks like when we close clients and build a financial relationship with them. And that's essentially what we've been going by for maybe like half a year, I would say.
That's beautiful. I respect that a lot. For me as well, it's really just focusing on client relationship,
Yeah.
especially when you're new. Like, especially when you first start out and it's like your first or second client, like you are not going to be perfect
Oh,
with
yeah.
the service.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what it is, if it's content, ads or anything like that, you are not going to be good at all. And you'll look back yourself in a year cringing. And
Hey, mate.
how you going? Anyway, so like for me, I want to make sure I word this properly, but lost my whole train of thought.
Right, I have an audience.
Yeah, there you go.
We get to throw him in the intro.
That'll be a phenomenal hook. What were you talking about again? Client relationship. Yeah, that's right. So, like, take my first client. It like when you're new, you can't rock up to a business meeting and trying to be Mr. Sigma businessman. I'll make you this much money, because you almost sound like an idiot when you don't have a portfolio behind you.
Yeah.
Instead, if you focus,
And they can smell it too.
Oh, exactly.
They can sense it.
Definitely. The big thing for me is just focusing on being genuine.
Yep.
Portraying myself as someone who genuinely cares about their business and wants to grow. And even if you are new, being completely open about that. Don't obviously be a professional. Obviously you trust yourself to get your client results.
Yeah.
But I've had so many examples of people when I first started out who wanted to work with me just because they wanted to get behind me.
Yeah, yeah.
They wanted to help me out. And if I rocked up just being an arrogant idiot, you know, they'd tell me to get stuff and I wouldn't have the long-term relationship that I do with them now.
Through showing that sort of humble side of yourself, if you will. Yeah. I'd say that's actually how I've closed most of my clients and my most high-ticket clients at that. Mm-hmm. You know, for the people who are paying us like $5,000 a month now, the only reason they go with us instead of someone else is because they understand, yes, we are quite flexible. We can be their media team. They can say, Jack, I want a podcast tomorrow. I want to say sick, I'll be there.
Yeah.
You know, I'll make it work. I'll make it happen. That's number one. Number two is they want to be a part of the story of the 18-year-old who started his business and has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
I like to make it clear that I'm an ignorant teenager who has no idea what they're doing at the end of the day. I might know some things about getting viral videos and online presence and whatnot, but I know nothing about business. Yeah. So a lot of my clients I actually see as my mentor as well. They've taught me so many things about business, how the numbers work, and the psychology that goes behind it as well.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I mean, even recently, I got 10 times, even more, 100 times more experience compared to when I first started. But even now, I'm still getting the exact same thing. You know, even 2 weeks ago, I spoke with someone recently, and he wanted to get ads out, and he wanted content and things like that for his business.
Yeah.
And we had a long chat for ages, and he was completely open to me and saying that we're both local, you know. I think we kind of knew each other through church, and or at least someone knew me or them through church or something. And he was pretty open about the fact that he wanted to work with me simply because he wanted to get behind what I was doing. And he'd been in business 15 years. And he was telling me like he'd love for me to be starting these new things and getting experience in so many different areas. And he just really wanted to get behind my brand and get behind what I was doing, even help me out.
Yeah.
You know, obviously I'm the one providing the service to get him a return on investment, but he really wanted to get behind what I was doing and nurture me at the same time. Which
And I think that's how
appreciate.
business should be done at the end of the day, especially supporting your local economy. Like, for example, I just closed a butcher, close to $500 a week, for instance. I wouldn't name an exact number, obviously, but I come in weekly and I probably spend close to $300 on meat each week anyway.
Yeah.
So it doesn't add up, but I have someone to come to for a certain service or something like that.
Yeah.
Same with other clients as well who handle all my uniforms, name tags, so on. You create this sort of network around yourself, this sort of economy bubble that you're able to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I
Definitely.
find that fantastic.
I mean, I work with a lot of barbers as well, and you can't cheat on your barber. So every time I need to get a haircut, I have to go to a different one each time and drive to all these different places just so I know that they're all happy.
Yeah.
And I'm not being a dick by just going to the one barber, even though I'll be honest, there's one who's definitely much better than the rest. But it would be dog of me to leave them.
I only go to one barber now. Otherwise I'll get my shit fucked up.
Yeah, man. I mean, once you build up that relationship with barbers as well, like they know your style.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Like going to new people, it kind of
it's
a bit iffy. You do get those gems who like understand it, like your head shape and everything immediately. But I remember when I was filming at a barbershop, this bloke came up to me. He's like, "Are you like a videographer?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, we run this." I forgot what he did. I didn't end up working with him, but he told me he's looking for content and stuff like that for his business, and he asked me. I was new at the time as well. It was actually my first or second paid client that I was filming for when he met me, and he asked me, "It's like, are you new? Are you local?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, that's good, because I want to work with someone who's new and local, because I'd rather get behind someone like that than some like big corporate firm."
Yeah.
You know? And although
I understand that people like that are willing to make moves in order to prove what they're trying to do.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, although we are, getting to that stage where, especially you getting really, really big, you're still trying to really have that personal brand.
At the end of the day, I could be making like millions of dollars a year at some point. I will never substitute having a coffee with my clients.
Yeah.
In my leads, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. That's the one thing that will never change, because it just works. It just works. Another thing we will never do is accept contracts. I don't like to lock my clients into contracts. We go week by week and we customize everything to fit their needs as well.
Yeah.
That being said, I've had clients reply to me and say, "Well, you telling me that you could just work for us for a month and then 1 week I just decide not to work with you and drop you?" I said, "Yep, that's exactly how it works."
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. And that's the closest thing we come to having a contract as well. It's like, you need to be providing value. There needs to be a relationship there.
Yeah.
It's got to be worth it on both ends.
I mean, I consider my clients friends.
Yeah.
And it's almost it's almost disloyal at this point if they do drop you, you know, and it's your friend. But yeah, no, I agree. I don't think contracts make sense, especially when you're really relationship focused.
Yeah.
You know? And especially if you're genuine.
Yeah. Of course, in saying that, like, have everything in writing and all that sort of thing. But in today's day and age where we're completely flooded with, you know, putting up walls in between yourself and someone else, with, you know, sending emails to each other or keeping everything in messages.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing to be had there. You don't get to know the person you're working with, and you don't get to create valuable content.
Yeah.
You know, through understanding the personality of the person you're working with, you get to create really, really effective pieces of content that work amazingly with their brand.
Yeah.
Maybe not someone else's, but their brand in particular.
It's a phenomenal point. I think personal branding it's starting to become a massive trend now, but I think it is completely the way to go.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can sit here and be like, oh, I own this massive agency and we do all this and all that. But it's like, if you're a dick,
Yeah.
you know, you're not trustworthy, you're not genuine, you're not a good person, people don't want to work with you, you know?
Yeah.
People want to get behind who you are, and they want to be with someone who they can honestly trust. And
It's all about trust.
yeah,
Especially at that like high level of networking as well. I'm aware of so many high-end businesses who are responsible for industries worth of, you know, reputation and influence.
yeah,
They have the most dog shit social media.
yeah,
But that's only because they really trust the person they're working with.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about relationship and network to that degree as well. If you look at Hip Pocket, for example, one of my clients, they're a workwear and safety brand. You know, they put logos and stuff, and they sell safety clothing over to tradies and businesses, stuff like that.
yeah,
You'd never think that, I'll put it this way, that you would see a piece of content from them about AI tradies holding sausage, or, you know, sausages in bread and something like that has 500,000 views. It's so weird in that sense. It's like you can find something that seems really bland on the outside, but once you start to build that brand, the personality side of it, that's where you start getting viewership, and that's where you start converting leads into sales as well.
that's so true. It's a phenomenal point, definitely.
If your brand had a person, if it was a person, if it had a personality, what would it be?
I know why. The first thing that comes to mind is who's the bloke from Dumb and Dumber?
Oh yeah?
What's his name?
Which one? There's two.
Which one? There's two. There's
The
Dumb
actor.
and then there's Dumber.
There's two.
Which actor? There's two actors.
The famous actor.
Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's just the first thing that comes to mind. I'm a bit
I see that.
goofy. I'm a little awkward at first. Once you get to know me, I'm still pretty awkward. But
He's right.
I don't know.
Awkward in a fun way though. We like to say everything.
Yeah.
You know, that, but in a fun way. Honestly, if I had to say what Ripple would be, I can't put a person to it. But in complete realism here, a lot of our ideals are based or are stripped, stolen straight out of the Bible and the gospel. When it comes down to what we're doing, we're trying to create such a large impact to the point where it's extremely controversial, and it's actually getting people to think. What I like to use the term is that we're trying to flip tables. You know what I mean?
I wish I could have given that answer. That's so much better than mine.
I had a long, hard think about it, and I remember reading about Jesus flipping tables in the markets.
Yeah.
And he was fucking pissed. And I feel the exact same way about how any other certain media agency does the bare minimum. They don't do any account engagement. People live mediocre, lukewarm lives, and that's what really pisses me off. I think we're lacking passion in today's day and age. We have an information overload, and you don't even know where to start. I think people are craving a personal connection with someone, and they don't know how to achieve that. So I think it's our job to deliver that for our clients and to build a relationship with their audience.
That's so much better than Jim Carrey. What we're doing. I'm gonna copy that. I'm gonna like deep fake my face,
Okay.
and I'm gonna act like I said that.
Yeah, you could put my beard on you.
Yeah.
I gotta say, like, the weirdest way I've ever provided value to a client is, you know, obviously we handle people's online reputation. we produce content, all that sort of thing. But there is this one client of mine who is absolutely obsessed with networking.
Yeah.
He spends so much of his time going out to networking breakfasts and meeting people and shaking hands, all that sort of thing. And he's got this massive personal reputation in my city. We started making a podcast for this person after we were running a short form and a social media for maybe a couple months. The second we started this podcast, he noticed so many people coming up to him and saying, "So what are you doing? Why are you doing a podcast? What? I don't get it. What's the intention? Why are you trying to do this?"
Yeah.
He's getting so much questions. He's building so much curiosity within his circle that I believe us handling his online reputation has also boosted his personal reputation as well.
Yeah.
He's created this kind of like mysterious aura around himself, and it's so weird.
That's a great point.
Yeah, people are looking at him. It's like, what are you trying to do? And now everyone else is trying to catch on as well. They've all started their own podcasts because my client is now a trendsetter.
There you go.
I think that's
a great way of doing it. Far out, yeah. What would you say is one thing businesses get wrong when it comes to authenticity, and how do you get it right?
I have this one client.
Yeah.
The second I would point the camera at them, they would transform into a different person as if they were like a game show host.
Same. Yeah.
And they didn't understand that what I was trying to get from them was their genuine self. I've had so many conversations with them in the past that I found very interesting to do with the industry that they were a part of. But the second I would point the camera towards them and hit record, they would transform into a completely different person. The truth is, at the end of the day, their viewers can smell it.
Yeah.
They can think, this person's giving me snake oil vibes. You know, they don't actually know what they're talking about. Maybe they're just reading from a script. If you were your genuine self and you really thought about what you were saying, I think people would resonate with that a whole lot more.
Yeah.
So what I like to do with my clients is what we're doing today. You know, we understand there are cameras in front of us right now. As far as our audience is concerned, we're just two blokes at a park talking to each other.
Yeah.
But for you and I, we're having a conversation and the cameras don't feel like they're there. You know, we don't have to pretend to be a different character. We could just be ourselves.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the most effective pieces of content you can create for a business or anyone for that matter, because every person is unique and individual. And if you put one of these people with another person, you have a completely original conversation altogether that you can turn into a fantastic piece of content.
That's a great point, mate. That's a great point.
Because let's be honest, I'm sure both you and I have been there to the point where we would try to replicate someone else's piece of content and say, here's how to make a great hook on social media. And you sound like a total dipshit, because if you're yapping about the same piece of content that everyone else in your industry has made, you look like a complete dickhead because you're just copying, you're just following someone else.
Yeah.
Have you tried creating a completely unique content idea that, yes, may be similar to someone else's, but fits under your own brand as well?
Yeah. I mean, like, at the same time, for me, I really want it to be authentic. And I think so many people sit down and think, you know, like they sit and brainstorm and talk to ChatGPT, you know, about how they can be more authentic. What's something that no one's ever done? And all of a sudden they're naked, upside down in a tree, trying to make a video. I'm like, okay, sure. But again, in order to come up with authentic content, it just comes down to experience.
Yeah.
Put the camera in front of you, be you, and just talk to it.
Yeah.
You know, provide some advice, provide something helpful. You know, experience would be the best way.
Experience is the biggest thing. And to those who are watching us right now, I don't know if that camera's recording. To those of this who are watching us right now, and you think Luke and I are professional content creators, we're used to being behind the camera. This would be one of the first times we're in front of the camera. We've had trains go by, people running in front of cameras, planes flying over, birds flying in the frame. We're still getting used to it as well. The biggest action step that you can take is just to start, because that's what's going to give you the most experience, and experience breeds confidence.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
One question I wanted to ask you, you've asked me this question before as well.
Yeah.
How are you so sure that this business model, what you're doing right now, is what God has planned for you?
There's a verse in, oh man, where is it? I think it's in Matthew. I think it's Matthew 6:33. No, it's not Matthew 6:33.
Okay.
Long story short. Essentially, it says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these other things will be added onto you.
Wow.
And the Bible kind of repeats that whole phrase a lot,
Yeah.
just worded differently. And I'm a firm believer in that God is not against your goals at all. And a lot of the dreams and desires that you have, God is completely happy with, and probably wants it more than you do. But if you were to, if this goal that you have is taking you away from God and distracting you from God, well, then he's not going to give it to you. But if you're actively putting God first in your life, you're growing in your relationship with him, and you're doing, like the Bible says, everything for his glory, God is happy for you to do whatever you want.
Yep.
And will grant you, I don't want to say will grant you whatever you want, because in the end it is all God's will.
And in our
But-
experience, yes, everything has come together, but not in the way you were expecting it.
Oh, not at all. Not at all, you know? And like, I look back on my life and I think like, I'm so grateful that it hasn't gone the way that I wanted it to.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, my relationship with God would be horrible if I went my own way, you know? So yeah, I'm a firm believer that God honestly probably wants your dreams more than what you do, but he's only going to give them to you if you actively put him first in your life. And by trying to practice that every day, although I fail it a lot, and just seeing the way my business has gone and seeing how it's taken me closer to God, and just seeing the people that I've helped, I think I'm very much in the will of God for sure, man. Definitely. What about you?
I've had quite a similar experience in the sense that when you prioritize God, everything just comes together naturally.
Yeah.
If you just trust the process and do what needs to be done, it comes together. But if you start forgetting about God and you prioritize other things above him, as we sometimes do, we fall off the horse, shit hits the fucking fan.
Yeah.
And then you think, what am I doing wrong? Oh. And then it all comes back together again once you... So it's sort of a revolving doors process in that sort of manner. But one thing I haven't told anyone yet, even yourself for that matter, is one day I was at church when I was quite young, and some lady approached me with a note. What it said on this note was something that God said to her that she wanted to give to me.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to take it or something like that. Although in summary, what it said was, if you live righteously and if you keep following me, you will lead my people. And I thought, sick. I pinned that on my wall and I read that for however many days in a row, and I never knew what that meant at the time. But I remember one time I asked God if he can challenge me, if he can test me or throw a massive curveball in my direction. He doesn't fuck around. I figured that out in a very hard way.
Yeah.
Although I don't regret it, of course. Every day I wake up, it means I'm doing something right. I'm in the right direction. Because if I wasn't doing the right thing, I would be aware of it by now.
Yeah.
Something would have happened. It would have been extremely clear to me. But with how everything has been coming together, how we're building a team and how clients are coming in left, right, and center, how things are building so smoothly, that's a visual representation to me that I'm doing the right thing for you. And in a way, I am leading this business.
Yeah.
With the content that we're producing through our clients, with the team that we're building, the empire that we're building, including yourself, our clients, and the impact and influence we have across Toowoomba.
Yeah.
For example, we just closed someone who's running for the election just recently. If our content happens to perform in the way that we're hoping it would, we're responsible for influencing local politics.
Yeah.
I never would have thought about doing that when I first started working as a social media manager with my iPhone 7.
It's great news.
Completely different.
Like I see that happen all the time. Like end of last year, I was doing quite well in my business, and it was growing and growing and growing, and I made it my mission then to start putting God first.
Yeah.
And I saw a complete return on investment.
Yeah.
And then, like what often happens, once you go and you get to the top, not that I was at the top,
Yeah.
but
Or you get comfortable.
you get extremely comfortable, and then things started going down, as you would have known. But then, yeah, again, you know, like always the other week, I thought I need to put my relationship with God first, really take it seriously, and then I've got, you know, pop as well, and then and you know, all these other things. So it's amazing.
I think at the end of the day, it's like, sure, you can ask God for things. You can ask, oh, can you give me more clients?
Yeah.
How are you going to manage these clients? Do you have enough experience for it? Yeah. Have you dealt with some really difficult clients in the past? Are you going to be able to manage another 5 right away next week?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So in the way that it comes together, I think it is through experience.
Yeah.
You know, we started off with a handful of clients, you know, like it was $100 a week for 5 posts per week, plus full account management and free shoots. Ridiculous. I was talking with that client not too long ago, Simon York, the wedding musician, and he was really apologetic over the phone. He said, you know, I really regret doing that to you. You know, I was completely undercharged and I felt like I was taking advantage of you. I had to be extremely firm with this person, and I told him, Simon, I'm going to be extremely firm with you. In no way at all were you taking advantage of us, because if it weren't for you being our first client, if it weren't for someone who had such a relaxed personality, so collaborative, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal point. I remember my first client as well probably wasn't as extreme as yours. The first time I met him, it's like, cool, let's do it. How much do you charge? I'm like, you know, I just want to gain the experiences by working with you, and the only return on investment that I want would be the experience that I gain from working with you.
Yeah.
Not the money or anything like that, you know. So.
Wow. I love telling people that I will not take their money. You know, it's like I've had so many clients tell me, it's like, oh, so how does this start? It's like, do we do like a 3-month contract or something like that? I said, no, nah. That's not how we do things. I'm sorry, call me old fashioned. This is what I tell everyone. I even told the lead I was talking to this morning this, call me old fashioned, but the closest thing we come to a contract is a firm handshake and to have everything in writing over emails. That's what it comes down to. Yeah. I also tell them that after the first week of delivery is when we send the invoice that following Monday.
Yeah.
So we complete the service first, and then you have the opportunity to pay the invoice.
If your brand was a book, what would the title of that book be?
I'd call it Flipping Tables.
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to repeat that point again.
Yeah.
What interests the motivation behind what we're doing with Ripple is that I'm extremely pissed off about the mediocrity that's presented in social media content when it comes to businesses. There are so many people who plaster on a fake smile and shake hands. They produce airbrush images that look supposedly perfect, but no one resonates with. If you're getting less than 1,000 views per post that you're making on your social media, you're doing something incorrect and you're lacking authenticity and personality.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're recording it on your iPhone 4 or if it's like a stone tablet of an iPhone or something like that. You don't need a camera, you don't need fancy equipment. You just need the one thing that you can't trade with anyone else, which is personality and authenticity. It severely pisses me off, actually. I'm quite passionate about this topic because I see so many other marketing agencies in my area that have kind of screwed people over.
Yeah.
You know, they say, okay, well, you know, we'll come up with the content ideas. You record it for us, send it our way, and we'll just post it for you. That'll be $5,000 a month, thank you.
Yeah.
That severely ticks me off. And I think it's about time in today's day and age where everything is kind of lukewarm, where no one means what they say anymore. I think it's about time we start flipping some tables and fucking shit up, you know, stirring the pot so that people start to wake up.
Yeah. I always think to myself, I don't understand how brands like that keep running.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because they're the only ones that exist.
Yeah.
So they have no other option. But then, it's amazing because then you get people that come in like you who want to flip the table and change the tide, which obviously makes you stand out completely.
Yeah.
I completely see you as being the absolute go-to in the country, you know, just because of how much you've just gone against the grain.
Yeah, and we're only the go-to in the country because we have a fantastic editor.
Appreciate that. Appreciate it.
People our age, you know, working as an apprenticeship or working for, you know, the job they're working at currently, I believe that there is no chance they can secure a mortgage or live a comfortable life in the career that they're pursuing. I think we're very blessed to have made the decision early enough to start a business and scale it, invest that first year of making absolutely nothing because we see the compounding interest in the future. No one else sees it but us.
Yeah, it's an amazing point, but I almost disagree with you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I know I've been asked, yeah, you're gonna ask me the questions like university, yay or nay? Yay.
Okay.
You know, like getting a normal job, I'm all for that. You won't make as much money. In this economy, it's kind of going to suck.
Yep.
You're not going to be able to afford a mortgage or anything like that. But same time, these are the people that make the world go around. You know, if there were no Sparkies, we'd have no lights. You know, if there were no doctors, they wouldn't be sick. And which is why I'm, you know, I'm a firm believer that there is nothing wrong with university. And you see so many online gurus be like, oh, this is so cringe. You like, you have a job, and it's like, God bless people that have a job. Like, that's the reason why I have a house and I have food and all those things, because they make the world go round. You know what I mean?
I understand what you mean as well. I think, there was a really interesting thing I was going to say about that was kind of related to your point. I mean, if it wasn't for people like that, we wouldn't have clients either. I think if everyone was doing online business, there would be no opportunities anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think about it a lot because I see so many online gurus saying, buy my course. Everyone needs to be inside my course. And I'm like, everyone, please don't go inside that course. You know, and it's like, I almost feel selfish, you know, for choosing this path. But at the same time, I know that I'm better
On
for
track.
you know,
I remember you actually used to struggle with that a bit. You'd ask me, it's like, you almost felt selfish to a degree for pursuing this business, for making money in an unconventional way. Do you still feel the same way?
No, not at all, man.
I think a lot of business is just getting over yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, pushing your pride aside and think, okay, well, if I want to do this, I have to get to that position first.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Definitely.
In summary, what is the one thing you would tell yourself a year ago if you had a time machine and you could meet yourself 1 year ago? What would you tell yourself?
I see the question get asked every time, and my answer is always different. And maybe I'm an idiot. I'd tell myself nothing, because if I told myself all the lessons that I learnt, well, then all the trials and tribulations that I went through would mean nothing, you know? And I wouldn't. You learn so much from experience, and the experience that Luke is about to gain over the next year,
It's completely unique too, isn't it?
wouldn't be worth it.
Yeah.
That's my view. I wouldn't say anything, because I think I learned everything through experience, and the only way Luke from a year ago is going to learn it is through experience. Yeah.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. What would you say?
Keep your head down, lock in. Don't listen to anyone you don't want to take advice from. If they're not in the position that you want to be, don't listen to them. Just focus on your own journey and keep your head down. In saying that, it's piss and rain. We're going to pack up. Thanks for listening. Make sure to comment your thoughts. If anything resonated with you, drop your opinion below, even if it's completely different to what we said. Thank you for watching.
That was beautiful. No, I think we